AZ-305 Designing Microsoft Azure Infrastructure Solution Questions and Answers Set Number 4. Your organization operates from locations in the United States, the United Kingdom, Australia, and Germany. Each location has employees that work with files stored in a file share on Azure Storage. You are designing the structure of the storage accounts. The accounts must meet the following requirements. A single policy will enforce regulatory requirements. Low I/O latency is critical. Costs must be minimized. How many storage accounts should you create? Option 1, 1. Option 2, 2. Option 3, 3. Option 4, 4. Correct answer, 4. Explanation: the requirement for high performance is best met by local files in each country. A single policy can still be applied at a scope that covers the 4 storage accounts. Increasing the number of storage accounts does not increase the costs of the solution, apart from a very small potential increase in administration costs. You are planning the deployment of an Azure storage account that will host a file share. You need to recommend the storage tier for the account. The solution must provide the lowest possible latency for file access. While storage tier should you recommend? Option 1, Cool. Option 2, Hot. Option 3, Premium. Option 4, Transaction Optimized. Correct answer, Premium. Explanation: Azure Files offers 4 tiers of storage: Premium, Transaction Optimized, Hot, and Cool. The lowest latency is offered by the Premium tier. You need to design a file storage solution in Azure. The solution must meet the following requirements. Provide the highest possible durability. Remain available during a zone or Azure region failure. Which type of redundancy should you use? Option 1, Geo-Redundant Storage, GRS. Option 2, Geo-Zone Redundant Storage, GZRS. Option 3, Locally Redundant Storage, LRS. Option 4, Zone Redundant Storage, ZRS. Correct answer, Geo-Zone Redundant Storage, GZRS. Explanation: Geo-Zone Redundant Storage, GZRS, provides zone and region redundancy and the highest durability. Locally Redundant Storage, LRS, provides redundancy at the zone level. Zone Redundant Storage, ZRS, provides redundancy at the region level. Geo-Redundant Storage, GRS, provides redundancy for region failure, but not at the zone and region level. You are designing the redundancy requirements for files stored in Azure storage accounts. You plan to store files that can be easily recreated. You need to minimize storage cost. Which type of redundancy should you include in the design? Option 1, Geo-Redundant Storage, GRS. Option 2, Geo-Zone Redundant Storage, GZRS. Option 3, Locally Redundant Storage, LRS. Option 4, Read Access Geo-Zone Redundant Storage, RAGZRS. Correct answer, Locally Redundant Storage, LRS. Explanation: LRS provides the least redundancy of all the options. It is best used for files that can easily be reconstructed. RAGZRS, GZRS, and GRS are not required and are more expensive. You need to recommend a protection strategy for files stored in an Azure storage account. The solution must meet the following requirements. Protection must last for 5 years. During the retention period, new objects can be created. During the retention period, files must not be deleted or modified. After the retention period, files can be deleted, but they cannot be modified. What should you recommend using to apply the protection? Option 1, a legal hold policy. Option 2, a delete lock. Option 3, a time-based retention policy. Option 4, a read-only lock. Correct answer, a time-based retention policy. Explanation: during the retention period of a time-based retention policy, files can be created and read, but they cannot be modified or deleted. When the retention period expires, files can be deleted but not modified. This meets the requirements. Your organization has many Microsoft SQL Server Integration Services, SSAS, packages that run on an on-premises SQL server. You are migrating the SQL Server resources to Azure. You need to migrate the SSIS packages to Azure. Which two options you can use? Each correct answer presents a complete solution. Option 1, Azure Data Factory. Option 2, Azure SQL Database. Option 3, Azure SQL Managed Instance. Option 4, SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machines. Correct answer, Azure Data Factory, SQL Server on Azure Virtual Machines. Explanation: when you deploy SQL Server to an Azure Virtual Machine, you can install SSIS and run the packages natively. You can also deploy an SSIS integration runtime to Data Factory to execute the SSIS packages. The other options do not support SSIS. You need to design a data analysis solution in Azure that meets the following requirements. Allows for data transformation. Links data to Microsoft Power BI. Performs near real-time log analysis. What should you use? Option 1, Azure Cosmos DB. Option 2, Azure Data Factory. Option 3, Azure SQL Managed Instance. Option 4, Azure Synapse Analytics. Correct answer, Azure Synapse Analytics. Explanation: Azure Synapse Analytics allows you to transform data, links data to Power BI, and performs near real-time log analysis. You cannot do near real-time log analysis in Data Factory. You cannot perform near real-time analysis in Azure Cosmos DB or SQL Managed Instance. You have an Azure App Service app named App1. You need to identify the App1 features that are most popular with users and how users interact with App1. Which Azure Monitor Insight should you use? Option 1, Azure Activity Log Insights. Option 2, Azure Container Insights. Option 3, Azure Data Explorer Clusters Insights. Option 4, Azure Monitor Application Insights. Correct answer, Azure Monitor Application Insights. Explanation: Azure Monitor Application Insights is an extensible application performance management service that monitors the availability, performance, and usage of your web application. Azure Container Insights monitors the performance of container workloads that are deployed to managed Kubernetes clusters hosted on Azure Kubernetes Service. Azure Activity Log Insights. Azure Data Explorer Insights provides comprehensive monitoring of your clusters. You have 5 Azure SQL databases in a resource group named RG1. You have a log analytics workspace named WS1. WS1 is configured to use Resource Context Access Mode. Databases in RG1 are configured to use WS1 for diagnostic logs. A user named User1 needs to be able to review the logs for the databases in RG1. Which role will you assign User1? The solution must follow the principle of least privilege. Option 1, Contributor role for RG1. Option 2, Contributor role for WS1. Option 3, Reader role for RG1. Option 4, Reader role for WS1. Correct answer, Reader role for RG1. Explanation: in resource context reviews, read access to the resource, or group of resources, provides the required permissions. Granting contributor role to WS1 or RG1 provides far too many permissions for the user. Reader role to WS1 provides access to other resources that report to the workspace. You are designing a solution that uses Azure Kubernetes Service, AKS. You need to ensure that a user has permissions to view and modify AKS roles within an AKS cluster. The solution must follow the principle of least privilege. Which built-in role should you assign to the user? Option 1, Azure Kubernetes Service Cluster Admin role. Option 2, Azure Kubernetes Service Cluster User role. Option 3, Azure Kubernetes Service Contributor role. Option 4, Azure Kubernetes Service RBAC Writer. Correct answer, Azure Kubernetes Service Contributor role. Explanation: contributors can change roles and bindings. The Azure Kubernetes Service Cluster Admin role provides permissions to list cluster admin credential actions only. The Azure Kubernetes Service RBAC Writer role cannot modify roles and role bindings. The Azure Kubernetes Service Cluster user role can only list user credential access.